Oh, Jesus, boys, girls, in-betweeners, Rick Gambit here, and I am sick as hell. If you've been wondering why I haven't been streaming this week, it's because I have the worst cold and I feel like shit, but wild horses could not drag me away from the news that Capcom has finally, probably had their hand forced by Capcom Japan, but they have finally released the official patch notes list for Season 3 Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. And I've already made a video on this. It was a kind of a rush video because I had to do it at about 1 in the morning and I really needed to get to bed. And I kind of went through it very quickly, but one of the things that a lot of people said to me in the comments was, they said, oh, you know, Capcom has really disavowed this list. They said that it's not final, there will be other changes. And now we have the official patch notes from Capcom themselves a week later. And guess what? Nothing's really fucking changed. There's a couple of very minor changes for Juri, and we're just going to be covering Juri today because that's all we really care about on this channel. But essentially, it's pretty much the same. That said, I do want to go through this kind of piece by piece just because there were some other parts that I omitted as well, just because I didn't really have enough information at the time. So let's go through this from top to bottom, covering every change that Juri is going to have in Season 3. Alright, now first and foremost, we got the standing medium punch into standing medium kick link has an extended window on it. So this link here, this one, which I really hate. Can I get it? Can I get it? Got it. That one! They've increased the cancel window on the standing medium kick, because as you saw there, even for a person who has, you know, who does know about the link, who has actually honestly tried to practice it a lot, it is still a really shitty window to try and hit. And Capcom have finally acknowledged that. I don't know why. A running theme of this video is that these should have been changes that Juri always had in the first place. But that said, I don't know why they didn't give it to her, but we have it now that it will actually be an increased cancel window. So that link won't suck as badly as it used to. That said, I'm not sure how much utility it's going to have regarding the target combo, which we'll discuss coming up shortly. But I think the target combo is going to probably have more use. But I've been talking to some other people who do play Juri, and they've mentioned that if you want to leave your opponent in a standing position, because obviously target combo will be a launcher into a knockdown, if you want to do a combo that can potentially lead to a reset of some kind, that's still an option for you if you want to use that link. Alright, next we have crouching light punch, crouching medium punch, and crouching medium kick have changed hurt boxes. That doesn't tell us fucking anything. They could be better, it could be worse. It'll be interesting to see. Crouching medium kick especially because this move has a deceptive hitbox. As you can see there, it should be hitting Cammy, judging by the animation, and yet it is not. So if they could maybe extend that hitbox out a little bit to actually match where our fucking foot goes, that'd be nice. That'd be very nice. Crouching medium punch will be, actually this will be interesting as well, because in Street Fighter 4, this move was actually Juri's best anti-air. It was not only Juri's best anti-air, but it was one of the best anti-airs in the game. And again, anti-air is going to be something we talk about pretty shortly, but at the moment this move really has no use outside of combos. It's really just a link that you throw into combos and that's it. It doesn't work as an anti-air. It's kind of terrible as a poke, so if that became an anti-air again, that'd be pretty cool. Crouching light punch, I got no idea. This is really a move that you don't use for anything outside of frame traps, so I don't know what they're going to do with that hitbox on that. Your guess is as good as mine. Jumping HP, we have changed the hurtbox on this as well. I strongly suspect this is to do with anti-airs. Now, one of the global changes they're doing to all the characters, essentially, is changing the way that hitboxes and hurtboxes work on a lot of jumping attacks. And I believe, and a lot of other people believe as well, this is the reason for this is that they are trying to basically tone down the reward you get for jumping in, because in Street Fighter 4 jumping was considered suicide because anti-airs were so strong in that game that basically to jump in was just putting your own head in a noose, because even though you couldn't get great damage off of an anti-air, the fact was that people could just anti-air you so goddamn consistently, and the damage that you would get off a jump in wasn't that great. It was really considered just to be something that you shouldn't often try, if at all. Whereas in Street Fighter 5, you do a jump in, you get pretty good damage. Even for Juri, that's pretty decent damage for 2 fireballs. So, with that being the case, I think that they're trying to move set play back to being closer to Street Fighter 4, where it's more grounded, more neutral heavy, because at the moment, the risk reward is heavily weighed in favor of the person doing the jumping in. They can get much more damage, as you saw there. It's got 300 damage meterless from a jump in, and like Juri isn't even a high damage character. There's other characters who can get far more off of the jump in. So I think the reasoning for that is that they're probably going to make the hitbox in this probably a little bit shittier, which is kind of funny because it's actually a little bit shitty for jumping in anyway. But like I said, that's probably the reasoning behind it. It's a global change, so don't feel too bad about that. Also, I did forget to mention that they have increased the start out from 8 frames to 9 frames on this, which is a very slight nerf. Jumping HP is not a button that I normally use, but I've had a lot of other Juri players tell me that it's actually a very good anti-air. Sorry, air-to-air, I should say. So, for moves like Bison's Head Stomp or Vega's Wall Dives, things like that, it's very good for air-to-air inception, from what I'm told. So it may be something to turn down that a little bit, I'm not sure. I'm not going to miss it since I apparently was never smart enough to figure out to use it. Alright, crouching HP, jumping MP, jumping HK have all had their hitbox and hurtbox changed. Now, like I said, we just covered why they're changing the hitbox and hurtbox for jumping HK. That's not a mystery anymore. Jumping MP is interesting. It's one of Juri's better air-to-air moves to leave the opponent in the juggle state. So, if we set our dummy here to just jump, it leaves her in a juggle state. So, that said, because of the way that priority works in Street Fighter V, going air-to-air with a medium is not the smartest thing you can do because you'll get beaten out by a heavy, but it'll be interesting to see if they improve that or make it worse, because it does not have a great deal of utility right now, but they may be looking to improve it. I don't know. It's just one of those things which is it's just too nebulous to say at the moment. What is interesting though is that they are changing the hitbox and hurtbox on crouching heavy punch, which is this thing here. This fucking useless button that Juri has. This move is terrible. This move, I would argue, is one of the worst normals in the game. And there's quite a few reasons for this. First and foremost is that it's slow to start up and it's unsafe on recovery. You have to cancel it if you want to make it safe. Now, you would think that if you can see her foot is actually going up above Kami's head in that animation, you would think that this button would function as an anti-air, and you would be correct because it has no forward hitbox. None. Zero. Finally got one. You have to be right on top of your opponent to be able to get this thing to connect. Anything else, and it just clean whiffs. It's a terrible fucking move. But, that said, you think it's an anti-air, but it's a shit one. It will trade or lose in probably 75% of the situations. There have been times where I've accidentally gotten it just because I was trying to do stand heavy punch, and apparently I pressed down and got crouching heavy punch instead. So it's just an awful move all around. It's really bad outside of combos, but if they can improve this and give it a decent hitbox and hurtbox as opposed to what it has now, it may become a very viable anti-air because it causes crush counter. So if you get an airborne crush counter, guess what? You got yourself a free juggle after that. It makes her much more dangerous to approach from the air. Again, I'm just speculating, but the honest truth is they really could not do much to make this move worse than it already is. So I think there's a fairly decent chance they're actually going to improve it. Alright, on to one of Juri's two really big buffs. Now, I did cover this in the last video, but it does bear repeating for people who haven't seen it. The Koryetsu, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Koryetsu? Maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't know Korean. It's a tag combo. A tag combo is this. Forward or back, medium punch, and heavy punch. You do back as well. Same thing. It puts you in a juggle state. It's really good. You can do that. You can do that. Even if you don't have a fireball, you can still do that. It's a really good move. You wanna know the fucking problem with it? It whiffs on crouching. And it has since day one. And since day one, me and everyone else have just been fucking perplexed as to why that is. I think it was intended to be really just a punish option more than anything else, because obviously it's a 6-frame startup, which is not terrible. So there are certain things like Ibuki's target combo which you can use to punch it for specifically, but all in all, it's just really not particularly useful at all for anything. It's on the outside of those very specific situations where you are right in someone's face, and you do have the option of doing a 6-frame punish. It's really not worth anything. So in Season 3, they're going to buff this so that it actually will work against crouching opponents, which will be a very big buff because not only does it then become something you can just throw out in footsies and see if it'll connect, you know, it's a medium, there's a decent chance you might be able to crush a light or something like that. It's fast, like I said, 6 frames, that's pretty good speed. Also the fact that you can do, you can use it now as part of frame traps. Like that, using Crouching Light Punch as your frame trap starter to go into the medium punch, which will leave you with a 3-frame gap. So it's very good. It's going to be really good for that. I'm going to be looking really, like, very much forward to being able to use it in Season 3 because it doesn't matter, as you saw before, whether you have a light fireball stored or not, because you can always cancel into a light fireball regardless of whether you have one on deck or not. You still get damage either way if it connects, and if it's blocked, you store the fireball or you release the fireball and it's still -2, so it's safe. So that's going to be a really, really big thing for Juri in Season 3. Alright, Katasushu, which is Juri's V skill. Now, I've gone ahead and burned down the V trigger bar there so we can see that she has an empty bar. Now, the change is going to be that she's getting a nerf to the rate at which it accrues, so if you do your V skill now, if you do a regular one, you get about a third of a bar. If you do a level 2 charge, you get a little bit more than that, maybe between a third and a half of a bar. It's not a huge amount. It took us 3 attempts there to get one block of V gauge. So it's not, you know, it's not a king's ransom, and you're going to be getting even less than that. Now the reason for that is obviously because of the buff that she got to her V trigger 1, which we'll be talking about at the end of this. But all in all, it's not really that big of a problem really, because you could not use V trigger, sorry, V skill I should say. That's the cold talking. I'm very confused and tired right now. You couldn't use V-Skill unless they're either very fireball happy, or if they were just, you know, if you're a person who likes to take risks like I am, because I'm an idiot, and you'd like to do it when people are just walking forward and won't be able to react to it. So either way, your options for being able to get meter off of V-Skill are pretty limited. So most of the time, you're going to be getting your V-Skill built up through taking damage. It's not going to make a big difference that you just lose a little bit of meter game from using your V-Skill. Alright, Lakik Fuernyaku, which is her light fireball. Increase the active time is all that the patch notes say. I can only assume that by active time, they actually mean the distance that it travels, because in Season 1, it traveled this distance normally, but in V-Trigger it actually traveled much further. It actually traveled almost full screen in V-Trigger. They took that away for some unknown reason. But now they're saying that it increases the active time for it, so that's the only assumption I can make, is that it goes a little bit further than normal, which is not a bad thing. Juri actually does need this as a spacing tool in certain matchups, and being able to get a little bit more, even just a little bit more distance out of it would actually help a lot. Right, medium Fuernyaku. So that is obviously the medium fireball. It has had the damage increased from 60 to 70 normally, and in V-Trigger, stun will increase from 80 to 100. So not bad, minor buff. I'm not going to complain, that's for sure. One of the big complaints that Juri players have had since she arrived in the scene in Street Fighter V is that her fireballs just aren't really worth stocking up on, because they just don't do enough damage and they don't do enough stun, but mostly just not doing enough damage. So even getting a minor buff from 60 to 70, it's not bad. I'll take it. Right, now Heavy Fuernyaku. This is the interesting one, because in normal and V-Trigger, the damage has increased from 80 not to 90, but from 80 to 100. So she's actually gotten a reasonably big buff on the damage to this fireball. I would suspect that's because of the global change that Juri and everyone else got with V-Trigger, is that now by activating a V-Trigger during a combo, it counts for 2 hits instead of 1, thus scales your damage more heavily. So as a result of that, she'll be doing less damage in her combos, which again is something I'm going to get to in a little bit, but I think that's the main reason for it. Obviously she can still use this fireball outside of combos, and that is good, but I think that is probably the main reason for the buff. Alright, EX Tensenren, which is her DP. Currently this move is invincible from frames 1 to 9. That invincibility has been extended now till the 12th frame. The reason for that is because it has a shitty hitbox. Essentially the hitbox, if you've ever seen an animation for it, as she spins around, the hitbox flickers in and out of existence, presumably because her legs are facing in different directions. Because in a game where people are throwing fireballs and teleporting, what we needed was fucking realism, apparently. So they've increased the invincibility that up to frame 12, so basically it'll just be more of a reliable anti-air now if you want to use it for that. Okay, Sekai Fuhazen. I actually had to look up what that name was. It's a critical art.
This will end your suffering.
It's a fireball! This is probably the only change that I can think of off the top of my head because I haven't actually sat down and compared notes, but it's the only one really worthy of mention that was not listed in the original leaked list. This move now has armor break properties. What does that mean? Essentially it means the characters like Abigail, who just get to play fucking brain dead, and I hate them for that. When he activates his V-trigger, he gets infinite armor on some of his moves. It'll allow her to just break that armor, essentially. So if this fireball touches him while he's doing an armored move, normally he would just be able to absorb at least the first few hits, if not the entire thing. But now it will just break through that and just hit him as normal, and you'll be fine. So I can think it probably like the best situation I can think of that is if he's doing his charge punch and you do a wake up super to be his charge punch. That's probably the best situation I can think of. Outside of that, can't really think of too many situations where you really need to break armor with this thing. Alright, and lastly, the big buff, the one we've all been very excited for. Juri's V-Trigger 1 will be 2 bars instead of 3, and that is obviously a very big buff. Up until now, Juri's only really, for the most part, been able to activate her V-Trigger once per round. It's her comeback mechanic. It's not a very good comeback mechanic. It's actually pretty shit for that, but you'll take what you can get when you're me. That's V-Trigger 1 in a nutshell. That's a terrible combo. Don't do that, kids. Now, in addition to that, the amount of gauge that each Furyaku uses has been increased. So, as you can see here, gauge depletes normally when it's not being used. If you use a fireball, it takes a chunk out of the gauge while it decreases. Fairly large chunk. Now, that chunk is going to get bigger in Season 3. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this that I can speculate on. The first one being that because she gets to use it twice per round, Capcom really just wanted to make sure, I don't know why, because you can't do it, but to make sure that it can't be abused. That's my first guess. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's just basically what they've done. The second reason, which is kind of more interesting to me, is that they've increased the amount of gauge that gets used when you use a fireball. Now, Juri's V-Trigger has 2 properties to it. It gives out free fireballs, as we've seen, but it has a secondary property which no one ever uses, which is it allows you to chain normals together. Chain normals together also uses the bar, as you can see, but they've made no mention of the fact that chain normals will also have increased usage, which is interesting to me. I think what this means is that Capcom may be trying to change the way the Juri players use her V-Trigger. They basically said, if you're gonna get it twice per round, we want you to use more of the utility than what you've been using it for so far, which is free fireballs. So I think it's an interesting proposition, not necessarily helpful, but it is interesting, because what it'll mean is that Juri's V-Trigger will change from something where, normally if you're me, you'll dash up, get your party started, go into super, if you want to burn the bar for it, which isn't really effective, but whatever. Or you can just get your basic bread and butter combo off of that. Something like that. It would no longer be economical for me, considering that the damage scaling, which will also take place in Season 3, with the extra hit being added during a V-Trigger activation combo, not during a V-Trigger combo, but V-Trigger activation combo. It would make less sense for me to try and do an extended combo off of V-Trigger activation, and instead what would really make sense for me is for me to try and get a knockdown as fast as possible. So I would do something like, I've got my knockdown now. Now I have all this bar to play with. And the third part of this comment on the V-Trigger is that the rate that it will passively decrease at, which is what we're seeing at here right now, has also decreased. So Juri can sit on her meter in this state for longer than we're seeing right now. And so what that means is that Juri will have more pressure opportunities while this is active, because people will know that it's not going to run down as fast as it is now. She can basically afford to be more patient while the V-Trigger is active. So this, like I said, these are interesting opportunities. They're not necessarily good, because Juri still can't really, I mean, the problem with the V-Trigger is that all you have to do is block it. At the end of the day, There's no mix-ups in there. There's nothing that ends on plus frames. You just have to block it. Unless something about the fireball, the light kick fireball that we talked about where it has increased active frames, is something of a game changer that nobody is seeing right now, myself included. That's not going to change. All you have to do is block it. But, that said, you have more time now to go on the offensive and try and find little holes, and if you don't find that little hole, you can just cancel into something safe like a light fireball and then go back to sitting on your meter and trying to get something else out of it again. So there is still pressure there. It's not great pressure, but it will definitely be pressure. Anyways, guys, that's it. I think I'm going to like lose my voice in a minute, so I'm going to stop talking, but thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this. I hope you found it informative. If there's anything I've missed here, if there's any possibilities that you can think of that I can't, please let me know in the comments below. And in the meantime, we've got about a week to wait until we get to try these out for ourselves. Personally, I'm pretty excited. It's not a huge amount of buffs to Juri, but they are, for the most part, definitely buffs that will make her a better character overall. And considering everyone else is also getting more nerfed than she is, it may do a lot to address the disparity in terms of her tiers to everyone else's. So, exciting times ahead, guys. That's it for me. Kisses, hugs, and belly rubs. I will see all of you very soon.